What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel, bringing you guys another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the next upcoming brand new character in Global Opera Omnia, which is going to be featuring the debut of the villain from Final Fantasy III, Xande. But before we talk about Xande, if you guys are brand new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. That way you guys are not going to be missing out on future uploads. And if you guys like what you see on this channel, hit that like button and share this video, as it does help me out. Don't forget to check out all of the wonderful resources for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, which are the Dissidia DB, the Dissidia Info, the OO Tracker, FFOO Tip, the Tonberry Troop, FFTCC Podcast, and last but not least, the rest of the amazing DFFOO content creators and streamers, those of you who create those spreadsheets, visuals, guides, just to make the experience for this game that much better. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at what Xande brings to the table. Alright guys, here we are with my video for Xande. We're going to take a look at what he brings to the table with his entire kit. We're also going to touch up on the banner, and then a little bit too on his skill rotations and things like that. Now keep in mind, when I talk about these characters, they are assuming that you guys are going to fully invest in them, meaning fully max limit broken, fully max level all of their passives, their armors, things like that, because I want to present them at their best. And to be honest, if you guys are veteran players and you guys are planning on investing in these characters that I do talk about in my videos, more than likely you're going to want every single piece of their gear. You're going to want to max limit break them, especially if you're going to be taking them to future difficult content such as Lufenia, and then even some of the upcoming like chaos stages like Dimensions End and the Abyss challenges, which is global exclusive, because there's really no reason for me to talk about a character, you know, when they're not at their full potential. Now if you are a new player, don't worry about all this hard content. Just keep playing through the game, build up those resources, and pull for the characters that you like to slowly build up your rosters. But if you're a veteran player, you definitely should be building these characters all the way up to their maximum potential if you are going to be taking them to difficult content. So in a nutshell, what Xande does is he has access to 3 elements: Dark, Earth, and Fire. He can imperil all 3 elements with a debuff called Weakness Control, and he also specializes in a lot of splash damage. And the splash damage effects come from his actual skills, and then that splash damage actually increases with his special effect called Saiyan's Tower, which is that little icon that you see above his head. Now, that can be increased up to 3 stacks, but if you have the LD ability taken into account, it can be increased all the way up to 5, and every time he gains a stack, he's going to be getting a special effect. And when we actually go into his turn, I'll go ahead and talk about that. So let's just get Gladio's turn out of the way here. Now I am doing this demonstration on Dimensions End, or FEOD 19, because this is going to be the next one that Global is going to be getting, and Xande is actually pretty good for that one. Alright, let's go ahead and use the LD here for Gladio. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at Xande. Now, I do have some buffs on him. If you guys noticed, there were like 2 buffs on him that he already had active. That's part of his EX realization, and when we get into his EX, we'll discuss what those do. But we're going to take a look at each of his skills one by one. So his first skill is called Libra Combo. This has 7 total usage, and what this is it's a 4-hit Fire Dark AoE Magic Brave plus single target HP attack. It does increase Brave damage to a single target and 20% HP splash damage with a 150% Brave Overflow. It will grant him 1 stack of his Saiyan's Tower effect, and remember, this caps out at 3 stacks unless you have the LD. It also will be inflicting Weakness Control on all targets for 6 turns, and what Weakness Control does is it lowers the enemy defenses, and it also inflicts Fire, Earth, and Dark resist down, or, you know, imperil, whatever you want to call it. And then Saiyan's Tower increases Xande's critical Brave damage at 1 stack. If it's at 2 stacks, he's going to gain an increase to his Brave Overflow, and then if it's at 3 stacks, it's going to be increasing the HP damage he deals to non-targets. So that is going to be the effect of Saiyan's Tower. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at his skill 1 right over here. So this is Libra Combo. There you go. And now, as you can see, we have 2 stacks of Syracuse Tower now. So Syracuse Tower is now going to be giving Xande the increased Brave damage and also the increased Brave overflow. So we're going to go ahead and go on to Strago here, just for the purposes of the video, because I want to get Xande's skills out of the way here as quickly as possible. Let's go ahead and go into his LD so we could re-break. There we go. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at Xande's skill 2, which is called Quake. So Quake has 6 total uses, and this is going to be delivering a 5-hit Earth Dark Magic AoE Brave plus single target HP attack. It has that increased Brave damage to a single target and also that 20% HP splash damage, has a 150% Brave overflow, and then it grants him a buff called Demon King's Power for 8 turns. And this buff will be increasing his own max Brave and attack, and it also gives him a self Earth and Dark enchant. So it's going to be giving an enchant to those in specific elements, which is going to be increasing his damage output for those specific elements. And then if you have 3 stacks of Syracuse Tower active, Quake will change into Quega, and Quega is going to be a 4-hit Earth Dark Magic AoE Brave plus single target HP attack. However, this time it's going to trigger twice. It's going to have a higher overflow at 180%. Obviously, it's also going to have a higher Brave potency because it's a better version of the skill. And then it also grants all of the other effects that Quake does. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at his skill 2. And because we only have 2 stacks of Syracuse Tower, it is only going to do the Quake version of it. But this is how it looks like. And it does give him that buff, which is Demon King's Power. Alright, Gladio is going to do his thing. Nice. There we go. Alright, so let's get Strago and Gladio's turns out of the way. I'm just going to keep pumping out the LD here. This is only a demo video because the purpose of the video is to show off what Xande can do. Let's get those double breaks in. Alright, and then we have Gladio coming in here. Let's go ahead and get his skill 2 in. Alright, and now we're back to Xande. Okay, so Xande, when he has Demon King's Power active, he will have access to Brave Attack++ and HP Attack++. This is also assuming that you have his EX weapon fully realized, because that's how you get the ++ variants while Demon King Power is active. Brave Attack++ is pretty simple. It's a 4-hit Earth Dark Magic AoE Brave Attack, and it has an increased Brave damage dealt to a single target. And then its HP Attack++ is a 3-hit Earth Dark Magic AoE Brave plus single target HP attack. It also has that increased Brave damage to a single target, and it has a 120% Brave overflow. Now we're going to go ahead and quickly take a look at his C65 because it does kind of play into his kit. So his C65 will grant him weak damage up. It has 2 uses, and this increases the Brave damage that he deals when he attacks a target's weakness, and he also increases his own max Brave for 4 turns. So it's just kind of like a filler skill if you want him to be able to dish out more damage. So we're going to go ahead and pop it right there. Alright, and then now what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to jump into his LD, because his LD is going to be like one of the things that's key to his kit that really makes him, a pretty solid character. So his LD is going to give him the ability called Destruction Quega, and it also permanently increases his own attack if you have it fully max limit broken. And what this does is it cancels all enemies' break status. So pretty much just like what Strago's LD ability does, this does the same thing where it cancels the enemy's break status so he could break him again. And then Xande is going to be delivering a 4-hit Earth Dark Magic AoE Brave plus single target HP attack that triggers twice. It has increased Brave damage dealt to a single target. It has a 180% Brave overflow, and this time it deals 50% HP splash damage on the last HP attack, so the second HP attack. And then it's also going to be granting him 1 stack of his Syracuse Tower effect, and it also adds 2 levels of the effect, now capping at 5 stacks. So this is where the level 4 and level 5 effect of the stacks come into play if you have this LD weapon. And then on his next turn, he's also going to be getting a freeze usage of either his skill 1 or skill 2 or his C65, which prolongs his longevity. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. And now remember, since we're getting an extra stack of Syracuse Tower, we're now also going to get that, additional HP damage that he deals to non-targets. And then now we also have access to the level 4 and level 5 of his special effect. So with Strago, again, I'm just going to go right into his LD. preventing these enemies from taking their turns, because it's all about our boy Xande here. Xande. If I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, Gladio, let's just skill 1 right here. Okay, and as you can see, we now have a free skill usage, so we can either go into C65 or we can go into his skill 1 or skill 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and use his skill 2 because now we have 3 stacks of his Circus Tower effect available, so we now have access to Quega, which is the better version of his skill 2, so let's go ahead and use that. Okay, and then with Strago, yeah, I know I'm wasting the LD, but, you know, I want to show off what Xande can do. Okay, so now we're back to Gladio. Gladio will do his thing with his EX here. And when we get back to Xande, I'm actually going to summon... Actually, you know what? I will not summon. I'm going to actually use his LD again. And the reason why I want to use his LD is this ties in with the extra 2 levels that you want to build up for his Circus Tower effect. So at 4 stacks, Xande will be granting the party a Dark Enchant effect. Now, this is very useful because he is currently, even on the JP side of the game, the only Dark Enchanter in the game. So if you really value, you know, another, you know, elemental enchanter in the form of a dark element, Xande is your man. So at 4 stacks of that Circus Tower, after he uses LD, he's going to be giving Dark Enchant to the party. And then at 5 stacks, he's going to be further increasing the HP damage he deals to non-targets. So pretty much that splash damage that he deals, he's going to be further increasing that. So he's already doing splash damage with a majority of his commands and skills, and now he's going to do even more because of the effects of that Circus Tower. So let's just go ahead and use that, and then when we get into the next wave, we'll talk about his actual EX skill. Alright, so now the party has that Dark Enchant. Now what I really like about Xande's Dark Enchant is that it's in the form of an effect. It's not in the form of a buff. And that's very useful because in the event that you run into, let's say, a boss that likes to dispel your buffs, that's not going to get dispelled because it's a special effect. Now you do still have to build the stacks, and that's what the slow thing about it, but at least you know that you can rely on it permanently because it doesn't get removed. You know, once he has it, he has it. Alright, so I know that he has a free skill usage. What I'm going to go ahead and do is use a C65 just for the purposes of the video because I want to go into the EX. So this EX is going to be equipping him with his EX ability called Meteor. Now, before you realize his EX weapon, Meteor is going to have a slightly slow recast speed, and it's going to be dealing a 3-hit Earth Dark AoE Magic Brave plus single target HP attack triggered twice. Now, it does have an increased Brave damage dealt to a single target. That seems to be a standard with a lot of things nowadays. It has 20% HP splash damage, and then it grants him an actual stacking buff called World Engulfing Darkness for 6 turns, and this stacking buff actually caps out at 5 stacks. And what it does is that for every stack, Xande is going to get an increase to his own attack, and it's also going to increase the recast speed of his EX ability. So that's actually pretty strong because at 5 stacks, it's actually a 10% increase per stack. So he's getting a 50% attack increase and a 50% EX recast speed, you know, at 5 stacks of the World Engulfing, Darkness buff. So we're going to go ahead and use his EX skill. Now, it is going to hit more because it's fully realized, and I'll get into it after I use it, what this realization does. Alright, so, his realization, what his realization does is that 0 out of 3, you guys noticed it there, but he's going to be dishing out, first of all, 0 out of 3 is going to change Meteor into a 5-hit Earth Dark Magic AoE Brave plus single target HP attack, this time triggering twice, so there's more Brave hits. It also has increased Brave potency and 120% Brave overflow. 1 out of 3 is going to be giving him a permanent increase to his own max Brave and attack, and then 2 out of 3 is pretty key because it allows him to start the quest with Demon King's power and 1 stack of World Engulfing Darkness for 8 turns, and then he also gets 1 stack of his Syracuse Tower effect right away, because if you didn't have his EX weapon fully realized, you won't have the Syracuse Tower, which is very vital to his entire gameplay. And then afterwards, at the start of each wave, he will be inflicting that debuff called Weakness Control on all targets for 6 turns. And then finally, 3 out of 3, the HP dumps, he's going to be getting another one, so now he's going to be doing that, the 5-hit Earth Dark Magic AoE Brave plus single target HP attack. He's going to trigger that 3 times, and he's also going to be increasing the Brave potency of his EX skill further. So we're going to go ahead and with Strago, let's just go right into his skill 1. Okay. LD. There we go. And then other things that I do want to talk about this character before I go into like skill rotations and things like that is, first of all, if you do realize his EX weapon fully, he is going to be giving you an A-type sphere called Weak Power Boost Up Short, and what this does is that it increases the Brave damage dealt and also increases that character's max Brave for 3 turns when they're attacking a target's weakness. Now, as far as artifact passives go, you do want 3 times attack plus 108, and then 3 times of his Disciple of the Great Magus Boost 2-star, because that C50 passive actually increases his attack and max Brave. And one of the things that Xande has a problem with is that his potencies are a little bit on the lower side, and I think they did that to balance him out because he's always constantly dealing all this splash damage with his kit. So you want as much attack as possible, so then that way he's able to dish out more and more damage, and he's able to cap out a little bit easier. And then if you're going to be sphering him up, look for spheres that either give him more attack or maybe more magic attack, more Brave damage dealt, something along the lines of that. So I'm not an expert when it comes to spheres, so I would highly recommend you check out the Dissidia DB for all the different spheres and just kind of look at what could definitely benefit Xande's kit with the way that he plays. And then afterwards, if you do want to spend for his High Guard armor with the Lufenia tokens, what the High Guard armor for him does is it increases his Brave damage dealt. It allows him to exceed that 9,999 limit by 15%, up to that 11,498 mark. And then his held bravery and HP damage dealt can exceed the 99,999 limit by 15%, up to 114,998. So if you want him to hopefully hit his caps higher, that's something that you could consider for this character. But what I'm going to go ahead and do here now is go into summon, because I do want to use his LD skill one more time, so then that way you guys can visually see him getting 5 stacks of his Syracuse Tower. Okay, and that's pretty much Xande in a nutshell. Now, as far as skill rotation wise, so the thing with this character is that he is slightly a bit of a slow starter, because you definitely want him to have access to his 4 stacks of Syracuse Tower, so he provides your party the Dark Enchant, and you can also take advantage of the 3 Imperils that he does provide. So one of the ways that you could go about it, let's actually get into Xande first before I even talk about that. Okay. So you guys see it visually. Alright, so when we get to Xande's turn, we'll talk about some potential rotations, especially when you're trying to build them up. Alright, so Strago, do your skill 1. Alright, we're back to Xande. Okay, so ideally what you would want to do, now if you're facing like a wave that is like trash mobs, don't even worry, but if you're the actual boss fight, what I personally like to do first is, because he's going to be starting off with 1 stack of Syracuse Tower, and in order to build the stacks, you either need to use his skill 1 or you need to use his LD. Now, what I like to do is I like to get the stacks up to 3 using skill 1. The reason why is because I don't want to waste the LD if it's below 3 stacks, is I want to pop that LD so I could get the 4th stack up. Now, I know you could be saying, oh, well, what about the free skill usage? I mean, you can take that into consideration, but honestly, for me, I want to use this LD when I already have 3 stacks of Syracuse Tower, so then that way the 4th stack gets placed on there, and then afterwards I have the Dark Enchant provided to the entire party. Now you also want to remember to refresh his Demon King power, and you can do that with his skill 2. And his skill 2 is definitely better to use when you have 3 or more stacks of Syracuse Tower, so then that way you have access to Quega, which is of the better version. And then because you are benefiting from 1 stack of that World Engulfing Darkness right off the bat, if you fully realize his EX weapon, whenever that EX pops, make sure to use it, so then that way you're also increasing the stacks of that buff. So he has a lot of stack management, and he does take up some buff slots and things like that, but at least he only takes up 1 debuff, and he does play well with other debuffers. You could also run him with an Aura Bot, that way he can always cap out on damage and things like that, but overall he's a solid character. He has some nice tools under his kit. He has 3 access to, 3 different elements. He has access to 3 different elements. He has the Dark Enchant. He also has the Imperil. So he's overall a nice character to have, especially because he is unique in that he is the only Dark Enchant character. Now, in terms of the banner, we're going to go ahead and talk about the banner now. So the banner is going to have Xande's gear. It's going to have Cloud's Burst Weapon. It'll be the last time you'll be seeing Cloud's Burst Weapon until we see that All-Star banner, or the Start Dash banner, that has Lightning, Squall, and Cloud again, and it's going to have the Burst weapons featured there. But if you're looking to get Cloud's Burst Weapon now and you still haven't gotten it with the Beatrix banner, you can also get it from this banner. And then it's also going to have Eiko, who is a bit outdated now, and it's also going to have everyone's favorite Basura boy, Zell. Zell. At least we know Zell's getting an LD weapon soon on JP, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, Zell's on there too, if you're a big fan of Zell. I believe he gets character boards. Both him and Eiko are supposed to get them, so at least they have that. But other than that, my thoughts on the banner is I think Xande is a very solid character. I like him for his flexibility and being able to deal, AoE damage straight up, no matter pretty much with almost every single button that you press. He does have some stack management, which is something that is going to slow him down. So that is something that you want to take into consideration. But if you are looking for somebody that can Dark Enchant your party and also imperil that element at the same time, alongside 2 other elements that are attached with his kit, he's actually really good for that. Now, I know I'm going to be getting a lot of questions about this character and Vivi. So first of all, if you plan on tackling the Lufenia fight, which I will be, creating a separate video for that, you can use Vivi and completely pass on Xande because the requirement for that orb is dark damage, and Vivi does have access to that. Now, if you are looking for a character to replace Xande, Vivi is not a replacement to Xande. Because Xande provides other things that Vivi doesn't. Vivi is pretty much completely selfish. He drains your HP and everything is all about him because that is his role. He is a massive damage dealer, whereas Xande is also a damage dealer, but he also has that canceling break, and he also provides the Dark Enchant to your party from the special effect of his Syracuse Tower. So I just want to, point that out there, that Vivi is not replacing Xande. Xande fills a different role than Vivi. Similar role, but also a little bit different because his kit is very different from what Vivi does. Vivi is pure damage, where Xande is damage with a little bit of like offensive utility kind of rolled into his kit. So that's going to be my thoughts about the character and the banner. So if you are looking to spend your resources on this banner, just take a look at your roster and see if you could actually benefit from having another character who can enchant Imperil, where his enchant comes from a special effect, kind of similar to Kuja, so that you don't have to worry about that getting dispelled or things like that. But this is going to go ahead and conclude my video for Xande. Hopefully it helps you guys out and helps you guys prepare for the release of this upcoming new character in Global Opera Omnia. This is 40 the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal, everyone.